And here we are. Welcome back to the Retro Sophomore, where we never sit out. We your hosts, MD and CD. Today we got another mock draft, version 3.0, alternating. And yes, there's trades. Oh, there's going to be trades today. I'm already feeling that. I know CD, I have no idea what CD's going to do today, but I will be making trades today. Plenty of them. A lot of them different than the ones that I had last time. The last two mock drafts, dude, I looked at them again and I'm like, every time I do a mock draft, man, I'm like, oh, this is it. And then I look back at it a second time and I'm like, that was not it at all.
This is a hard draft class because there's so many good players from like 11 to 40, and you're like, I gotta fit these guys in somehow, but then all of a sudden we Latu, like way too. And it's like he could go 12, 11. He could go 9 to the Bears for all we know, and we had him in the 20s. So yeah, always fun to do these, but this time it's gonna be the best one yet, right?
Yes, absolutely. And if you guys like this content, please like the video. You guys have been very supportive actually on our mock draft videos and not making fun of me for my picks or CD's picks. We appreciate that a lot. But here's the thing though. I will say, if you have debates, please give them to us in the comments because we love talking ball. So if we can talk with you guys in the comments and get your opinions on things, and maybe there's a, how would you say, a tea leaf that we don't know about, that we're completely unaware of. You know, please let us know in the comments, and of course, be sure to subscribe if you want to be here for more content. NFL draft is in. I don't know when I'm posting this, but as of recording this, 15 days away. So a lot can change between now and 15 days. But we're gonna have more mock drafts. We're gonna have more draft content, and CD and I will be watching the draft. I know you're gonna be watching Buffalo Wild Wings. I'm probably gonna be watching Buffalo Wild Wings as well.
Yeah, don't tell my biomechanics teacher this, but I'm gonna be skipping our lab. I'm sorry. You have a Thursday night lab in spring, okay? You expect me to
Unbelievable.
you expect me to watch the NFL draft during lab? No, no, no. I have to be in Buffalo Wild Wings, getting my BOGO wings. But yeah, can't wait for it. This is awesome. I can't wait to get into this. We'll see how we do today.
Yeah, and in fact, that Friday after the first round, I have like my project showcase. So for my entire capstone project for my engineering thing, like that so that I've been working on since August with my team. I have that the next day. So, but I will
Better
be
be.
at Buffalo Wild Wings, as is draft tradition here. Let us know too, like what are y'all's draft traditions? Like, are we just weird? Like, are we're not the only ones that sit there and watch the whole thing, right? We can't be.
No, no. And now maybe we're the only ones that watch it day 3, and we get up early and we got 2 streams going. We got ESPNs and NFL networks and maybe a YouTube streamer we like as well. So no, all that good stuff and more with the draft content here. Like Matthew said, let us know if you like it, and we can get into it right now.
Yeah, let's get into it. CD will be picking the odds. I will be picking the evens to initiate the trade. Uh, I guess if you have that pick, right, you can choose to trade back, and then you get to choose. Even if it's an even, I'll allow you to, what I'm saying. Like we haven't made
Yeah,
that
yeah.
clear in the last ones, but I just want to make that clear. That's what we're doing. So you got 1-1, pretty easy one, layup, if you will.
Yeah, but like it's been chalk for a while now. You can put it in pen. I'll say it. Caleb Williams. They're already talking about what number he's going to wear. I believe 18 is what I've heard. And the Bears website, what I heard on Twitter was that people are trying to order it already and custom make number 18 with Williams and they're not letting you do it. So that must tell you something. If the apparel site and football ops knows what they're doing by stopping that, then it's got to be a good sign for Bears fans and Ryan Poles. Caleb Williams number 1.
Absolutely. Number two, not necessarily that he's the second best prospect in this draft class, but the fact that he is plus 145 to go second overall is unbelievable. Drake May.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing. Jaden Daniels could go number two, and yeah, the Brian Kelly stuff, sure, whatever. Jaden Daniels, Cliff Kingsbury's worked with that type of quarterback before, but Drake May, I think, is the right pick. He's the second best quarterback in this draft class, And here's the thing with Jaden Daniels, too. I know Cliff Kingsbury has thrived with Kyler Murray, right? And like throwing balls on the boundary. right? And you have some good talent on the outside, right? To be able to afford that, but you don't have giant monsters there on the outside, you know? Like I feel like Terry McLaurin, as good as he is on the outside, like he can attack the middle of the field. Jahan Dotson can attack the middle of the field. Like Drake May gives you that extra dimension where you're able to throw actually in the middle of the field consistently and well. So I just love Drake May there. On DraftKings, he is plus 145 to go number two overall. It, that to me is nuts. Am I crazy in that? Plus 145 odds? That is an applied probability. You're saying there's a 40% chance that he's gonna. That's the implied odds right there. I think it's greater than 40%, and that's why I will be taking that.
Yeah, I love that for Washington. I did. I mean, in our 1.0 mock draft, I took them here, and then the last time we were doing this crazy NFL draft season is. You had Daniels, all the rumors there. Yeah, I love Drake May here, but I am gonna take Jaden Daniels with the 3 pick, but I'm gonna trade up. And this is a team we haven't done this quite yet with.
Whoa.
And I think New England's ready to trade down. I think Drake May is their guy they've circled,
I love that.
and I
Wait, can I
think
guess what
they're
team you're trading up with?
yeah, go for it.
The Raiders.
There it is for you. Antonio
Oh, let's.
Pierce, who recruited Jaden Daniels at Arizona State, reunites with this
Yep.
guy. They go up, they give some combination of 13 this year, throwing their second, throwing a first, maybe another one after that, whatever it takes to get the trade done for us this year. I'm not really worried about the specific, the nitty gritty, but you're gonna have to give up a couple first round picks to move from 13 to 3 to get a quarterback. Jaden Daniels is your guy. I think the Raiders are super excited about that. We haven't had them doing this. They've kind of been stuck with all the quarterbacks off the board by the time they've even had a chance here. Jaden Daniels, number 3 to the Raiders.
Wow. I don't hate that at all. That's something we haven't done in any of these mock drafts. And what I love about these mock drafts, every time we do something wildly different.
It just takes
And I,
one pick at the top of the draft to just change everything else because Drake May goes 2. Well, Jaden Daniels still on the board, and Patriots guy is gone, right? Drake May's gone. And so now the Raiders are like, well, our guy, we like Jaden Daniels a lot. We're going to come up to 3 and get him. And for New England, it makes sense. You get down, you don't love your quarterback there. You don't have to take one right now. If you don't feel like Marvin Harrison's the guy that's going to fix your whole team, then trade down. Trade down, go to 13, get some assets, get a second round pick this year. That's a really, really good pick at 44. It's going to be a really good player
very
at
good.
that
Like
position.
that 35 to 50 range is just as good as maybe 20 to, well, it's not just as good, but that 35 to
It's
50
going to have
range is
value.
solid.
And,
After
and
50, I don't know.
Well, and you're also getting a first rounder next year, which the Raiders is probably going to be pretty high along with your high pick. And so you're looking at a 2 year rebuild that can really, 2 offseason rebuild that can really revamp your entire future of your franchise.
I love it. And so at forward Cardinals, right? And we've had them trading back a lot in these mock drafts. And the thing is, they could stick and pick wide receiver because Lord knows they need a receiver bad, right? And you're getting a generational one with Marvin or a projected generational one with Marvin Harrison Jr. But the reality is, like, trading back to the Vikings and getting 2 first round picks in this year's draft class is nuts because there's so much talent down the board. There's so much talent down the board. So I'm going to have the Vikings trade up. Okay. The same exact trade that we had last time that you made. And so that'll be number 4 for 11, 23 next year's first. Is that too much? No, that's not. I don't think for a quarterback, but it's
That'd
pretty
be fine.
standard. I don't know. It's hard to say, like, dude, because some GMs are different. It feels like every year they value draft picks differently. So I don't know. I don't know what values what, but either way, we're gonna have that trade go in, and we're gonna select JJ McCarthy. Not that I think JJ McCarthy is the fourth best player in this draft, but again, this is what we think will happen.
Sorry,
Which
who'd you trade with?
Vikings, with the Cardinals. Not that I think JJ McCarthy's the fourth best player. I would argue that he's not even the fourth best quarterback in this draft class, but that feels like the steam that is rising out of the cracks these days.
Yeah, no, McCarthy and the value. I guess the value you think is there with what he can bring to you. At 5, this is a real tough decision. I kind of expected you were going to stick and pick Marvin Harrison, and I really thought about Joe Alt for the Chargers here. And now I know you say, yeah, they have Rashawn Slater, Trey Pipkins, but to be honest, like I think Pipkins doesn't really fit exactly what they want to do offensively in terms of running the football and being absolute road graders like your Zion Johnson and even Rashawn Slater can do, even though it's a little bit smaller. But oh man, I think I have to take Harris. I'm gonna switch it up today. Don't call me crazy, whatever you want. It's mock draft 3.0. I'm gonna go Joe Alt at 5. I've not seen this a ton, but I think this makes a ton of sense for what Greg Roman and Jim Harbaugh like to do, and Joe Alt is a generational tackle. Do not get that confused. He is in a crazy draft class with elite quarterbacks and an elite wide receiver, and that's why he's not getting all the love. Joe Alt is unbelievable for Notre Dame, especially running the football, which is crazy at 6'8". He can still use that leverage and athleticism to really move people, to get out in space and get linebackers and second level players. Unbelievable. And I think the Chargers would be super happy with what he can do for you.
Yeah, I mean, I'll disagree with you and say that I think if Martin Harrison was on the board here, that they would have to take him. And that's why the Giants are staring at this board and they're like, what the fuck just happened? And
Yeah.
they're gonna gladly take Martin Harrison Jr. as their wide receiver because they desperately need a wide receiver. And we've mocked Malik Neighbors to the Giants before. It feels like that might be that's probably a more likely scenario. Now who knows what kind of character issues are coming out there, Malik Neighbors. But if the Giants are staring at Marvin Harrison Jr., that is ridiculous.
Yeah. And the real losers here, the Titans at 7. And I hate to do this to him because I'm also picking for him. So now I'm really stuck. I don't know what to do. Malik Neighbors, do you take him? You just signed Ridley to a ton of money. You have Traylon Burks, you drafted a couple years ago. D Hop is old. I get that. Is Will Levis the guy? Is he not the guy? You kind of figured that out. You have Tajay Spears and Tony Pollard. O line would have been really nice for you. A left tackle, franchise guy like Joe Alt. I don't know if I like Troy Fontenot enough to take him at 7. I don't know if I like Olu Fashano to take him up at 7. Obviously, you know, Quinion Mitchell, you think about that here, but I do like you just got Awuzie and then obviously L'Jarius Sneed, and you have Caleb Farley before that. You don't need a cornerback, and McCreary is very good for you in the slot there. I'm gonna come up and I'm gonna take Olu Fashano at 7. I think
Wow.
they're super frustrated with him. I think he's an elite pass blocker day one in the NFL, and you can work on that run blocking for you with the Titans, but you're also trying to keep Will Levis upright. And I think Olu is a guy that you're comfortable taking at 7 because he has the upside to be an elite left tackle with the athleticism that he has. You just got to figure out that run game and the balance and the strikes and everything that comes with it. But it sucks for the Titans. They missed out on Joe Alt, who's been a super popular mock to you guys. Titans fans, I'm sorry, but I I think Joe Alt at 5. I would not be surprised to see that, by the way, even if Harrison's on the board.
All right. Uh, with that, the Falcons are picking at 8. Okay. Malik Neighbors is still on the board. And when I say like there's a consensus that Malik Neighbors is a blue chip prospect. When we say blue chip in terms of the NFL draft, we mean like a dude, like Pro Bowler, like level player, right? Like in college football, blue chip means 4-star, 5-star, right? And this is a college football podcast. But when we say blue chip prospect at the NFL level, like there's probably 4 blue chip players maybe in this draft. And Malik Neighbors, I think consensusly is one of them. And I think the team would be willing to trade up for him in this spot at 8. You know what the team's going to be? The team's going to be the Cardinals. And they did that last year. They traded back
Yep,
just to trade right back up. And they're going
I
to trade
love
up for that
that.
8 spot. I don't think they have to give up one of their other first round picks. They could. I'm just going to say they don't have to do that. Um, I don't know. Let me get your input on this. Like, do you think the Arizona Cardinals would have to give up one of their other 2 first round picks to get Malik Neighbors?
Well, to put it in perspective, last year they had to give up I don't think they gave up a first round pick to go back up to get Paris Johnson, or at least not this year. I think a more reasonable spot would be 35, and the Falcons get a high second round pick. You get 11 and 35 to go up 3 spots and to jump some teams that are wide receiver needy. And obviously, if Malik Neighbors is there at 8, and the Falcons, you like Darnell Mooney, you like Drake London. Obviously, you got the tight ends and the running backs. You don't need a wide receiver. I think teams are gonna be bidding for Malik Neighbors, which can drive the price up. I don't think it's crazy that you can get the 35th pick for trading down 3 spots and probably getting one of the guys you want that's already on the board.
Okay, the Lions and the Cardinals. Um, I don't see what they got. Picking up a high day 2 pick and a later selection on day 3.
Yeah, it'd be that
So
35 pick.
that 35 pick, that's what I'm gonna do. 35 and then some random day 3. I'm just gonna whatever. All right, awesome. So now the Cardinals are trading up here, and they're gonna take Malik Neighbors here. Uh, I think that could happen, dude. Like these wide receivers are different, man. Like I think people trade up for wide receivers. So look at that. We've got is that 3 trades in the top 10?
I don't think that's crazy. I
It's
don't
not
think
crazy.
that's
That
crazy.
happened
What
last
what
year.
Yeah, and also if you're the Cardinals there, you have to love that. Unless you think Marvin Harrison is a step above everybody else in the class, but a lot of people love neighbors. And if you're one of them, like the Cardinals are, and you trade down, you get a first round pick, and all you got to do is you move up, you basically move up from 35 up to what 23, and then you get Malik Neighbors. That's still
That would be absolutely nuts.
which they last year again they did a really good job in the draft last year. So that brings me to 9 in the Bears, and you've got a couple guys on the board here. Dallas Turner, you'd like Latu. You think about a guy like Quinion Mitchell can start going right now, but not really a need for the Bears. Roma Dunze is the guy here, and I think you pair him with DJ Moore, you pair him with Keenan Allen, and obviously your new quarterback, Caleb Williams. It makes a ton of sense for you. A guy that's unbelievable catching the ball at the catch radius, contested catches. He did it all for Washington and was a massive part of a historical season for Washington this year.
Yeah, I like that a lot. The 10th pick for the Jets, I struggle with a ton because and we talked about this before. There's not a ton of holes on this team. Okay, I'm torn between 2 guys right now, and I don't think I've mocked this before to them, but I think this is actually like where a lot of people think Brock Bowers is going to land. So I'm going to go ahead and select Brock Bowers to the Jets at that 10 spot. And look, he'll probably start over Tyler Conklin and Jeremy Ruckert. Gives Aaron Rodgers yet another weapon. And I've mentioned that they could definitely get a receiver there. Like, don't think that just because they signed Mike Williams and they have Garrett Wilson that they won't get a receiver there, right? I think if Roma Dunze slips there, I think that's definitely a possibility. The Jets could trade up and get aggressive and, really, really put in all their chips for the Super Bowl this year with Aaron Rodgers healthy. But if all those receivers gone and you have to stick and pick, I think Brock Bowers is probably the best weapon on the board.
He's also about as pro ready and ready to help in 2024 of a tight end that we've seen since Kyle Pitts come out. And obviously, we saw the success Kyle Pitts had as a rookie was historical. That speaking of Kyle Pitts and the Falcons at number 11, they traded back with Atlanta from 8 back to 11, picked up a early second round pick here. There's a lot you could do here. You got Terrell. I like Clark Phillips. I'd love to take Quinion Mitchell, but I'm really high on Clark Phillips. I think he's a really good player, and it's not something you have to really fix for you. And I'm gonna go Dallas Turner here. I think he's edge one for you. I think this happened last mock, but it makes too much sense. If you can trade back from 8 to 11 and still get Dallas Turner like you want, I mean, why do you not do that?
I like that. Now, it's hard to believe that Denver's going to go into the season with Jarrett Stidham starting at quarterback, but and this will probably beat Bo Nix. But I just have such a hard time believing that Bo Nix is a first round quarterback. I have such a tough time doing that, man. So uh, I am not going to be picking Bo Nix for the Denver Broncos. I'm sorry. I know everyone and their mom thinks that that's going to happen. In fact, I might be sprinkling that Bo Nix goes somewhere else. Um, in terms of best bets, like we're talking about long shots, but I mean, it's not crazy. Give me Leatu Latu right here. Give me a good
Yeah,
edge rusher, man. Give me a good edge rusher. Yeah, sure. You're worried about the medicals, maybe, but like he played. He played. I don't know, man. He was durable this season. He looked absolutely unbelievable. He was probably the best pass rusher of like anyone in this class. Yeah, in terms of pure pass rusher. Find someone that can get to the quarterback on Denver. I don't know that they have a single person that I feel good about really getting to the quarterback. You're gonna
yeah.
send Malcolm Roach out there to get to the quarterback.
They've traded all their guys away.
Yeah, so I could definitely see them getting young at edge right here and going with Leatu Latu at 12.
Yeah, they've got a ton of holes. You might as well just take a guy that's a pretty high floor, lie out. You know exactly what you're going to be getting there at edge. That brings me to 13 with the Patriots. Don't forget they traded down from 3. The Raiders traded up to get Jaden Daniels. The Patriots have a ton of holes. Their quarterback was off the board. You trade down, you get a ton of assets, and you figure it out. You revamp it up for next year. At 13 here, I mean, as much as I love to go Quinion Mitchell, but you've got, I love Christian Gonzalez. I like Jonathan Jones. You've got talent there. In the secondary, I'm gonna go Troy Fontenot, and I think this is where he I would have thought about taking him, up at 10 if the Jets, if you want a pro ready tackle or guard for you. Fontenot, yes, I mean he's not the biggest dude or the most athletic, the most strongest, but his technician, unbelievable, productive for multiple years. He seems like a guy that New England just gonna fall in love with in the draft process. I don't know if Connor McDermott is the guy there for you at left tackle. I mean, Mike Onwenu, you can move him around anywhere you'd like. Cole Strange, you took a couple years ago. I think Fontenot just rounds out that room and can start building for when you do get a quarterback. You've got an elite franchise offensive lineman for you in Troy Fontenot.
Absolutely. And this makes it a very, very tough decision for the Saints because there are a lot of needs and there are a lot of insanely good players still on the board, which is nuts.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you go wide receiver here? Take Brian Thomas Jr. Do you go I mean, you could go quarterback here, but I would my guess would be no. Do you go interior defensive lineman, get the best one on the board? Do you go corner? Could you go corner here? I would say I would lean no, but you could. There's the best one on the board right there. Do you go tackle? I mean, this is nuts. Um, I just have a hard time. I think this might be the run on tackles that we see. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with Fuanga from Oregon State. Uh, absolute menace in the run game. Ryan Ramczyk. This is kind of a stash and cash kind of guy. I mean, Ryan Ramczyk would hope that he's healthy. I don't know, but it feels weird because there's a more pressing need at left tackle for sure. Because Trevor Penning feels like he's not really working out there yet. But Fuanga could also play guard too.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
He could
He could
also
play
play
guard for
guard.
you there. And we've seen times where teams or the draft media in general views this guy as a right tackle, and you take him and they plan to put him at the left tackle and see how it works for you. Doesn't work out all the time, nah, more than likely, but Fuanga is a really good
Yeah, or
offensive
or
lineman.
or you take a tackle, right, and then you bump him down to guard. Like, how many success stories have we seen of guys? Even if you play him early at tackle, right? You're like, okay, maybe this is not the fit. Let's try this guard position, Tevin Jenkins, and see how you do. And you see some immediate improvement. I think the skill set of Fuanga actually probably tails more to a guard than it does to a tackle. If you really think about it.
Exactly. Exactly. And if I'm at 15 here with the Colts, which I am, I'm sprinting up to the board and I am thanking the Lord that Quinion Mitchell is on the board for you. A guy that,
Somehow.
again, we talked about it with Chris Ballard, how much they love RAS score and freaky athletes with great tape. And Quinion Mitchell is that guy. We've had him taking Brian Thomas Jr. in the past, which makes a ton of sense here. But if you're Quinion Mitchell, he is one of one in this draft class as a cornerback, right? One of the only true alpha corners with no question marks about injury history or durability. Quinion Mitchell is that guy. You take him at 50.
Yeah, I love that. Dude, yeah, he's so good, man. He is so good. He's such a good athlete. There are a lot of players that have that athletic profile that Quinn Mitchell has that the Colts could take here. I say a lot. There's a couple guys. And one of them is certainly Quinyon Mitchell. I would anticipate if Quinyon Mitchell is on the board, I would assume that they take him. If not, Brian Thomas could go there as well. I know we've mocked him there a couple times. But the Seahawks, it gets interesting because there's a lot of pressing needs for the Seahawks. But here's my thought. I don't know that you saw a team trade up for Jalen Carter last year, right? There are teams that are willing to trade up for really, really good interior players, right? Teams that need interior defensive line bad. The Dolphins are sitting here at 21. They didn't sign Christian Wilkins. What if they get greedy here and they trade up? Let's go get Byron Murphy from Texas.
You're jumping ahead of another AFC foe in the Jaguars and the Bengals, and guys that would probably think about taking a guy like that with their
Here's
picks.
Yeah, and with the Seahawks on the offensive line, they mostly need interior help, right? And you can get interior offensive linemen later down the board, right? They need linebacker. You can get that down the board. They're probably okay at edge, right? You could take Jared Verse here for sure. That kind of fits their mold that they like in edge rushers for sure. But I think the Seahawks can trade down here for sure. I like this a lot. So I'm gonna have the Dolphins trading up. They're gonna trade their 21st. I don't know, probably not. I don't know. They don't
Well,
really have a lot. They don't have a lot of draft capital. The Dolphins do this year.
yeah, you might have to give up a second rounder and then get like a fourth back or get like a fifth back or
Yeah,
something
that's what I'll
to
do.
do that.
That's what I'll do. So, Dolphins are going to be trading up to 16, and they're going to be taking Byron Murphy here. We've seen people trade up for interior defense line. We've been seeing interior defense line getting paid. If Byron Murphy's here at 16, like I guarantee you there are going to be some teams clamoring for him, right? And you know, the Seahawks could also just stick and pick, Byron Young or Byron Murphy, but my guess is that Miami will probably give him something, and the Seahawks are going to recognize, yeah, we need help in other places.
Yeah, no, I think that's nice for both teams there. That leads me to the Jaguars. In last draft, I believe we had him taking Jared Verse at edge, and they just re-signed Josh Allen to a massive contract. And obviously, that was
Yeah,
before we did our mock draft. With that being said, so edge is probably not of need there, considering all you have invested there with Josh Allen, Trevon Walker. I like Travis Gibson as your third or fourth pass rusher. Aziz Moe, got to throw him in there as a nice, run stopping, early down defensive end for you. The Jaguars, I mean, they could use a lot, but they signed Anton Harrison last year. Here's what I would do if I was the Jaguars. And I don't know how long Brendan Sheriff's going to be there for you, right? You get Ezra Cleveland last year, you sign him. I'm going to take Amarius Mims here just because, first of all, I think Trent Baalke would just fall in love with a guy like this. A one of one. We saw him fall in love with Trevon Walker. Amaris Mims is another guy you could watch, and his tape is actually really, really good. He just didn't get on the field a ton because of weird circumstances with an injury this year, and then just other NFL tackles on the roster at Georgia, which is pretty crazy. But you can't keep him off the field too long. I'm gonna put him at right tackle, and then you can have him and Anton Harrison battle out. The loser goes to guard, and is your future there at guard, and you have Trevor Lawrence, and you keep him protected upright because that is the goal for the Jaguars who are making a push in the AFC playoffs with not a ton of other needs on this roster, by the way. They've done a really good job. They get Gabe Davis. Their O-line gets looking pretty darn good. Obviously, you have ETN and Lawrence. Evan Ingram, you signed to a long-term deal, I believe. And defensively, you got some nice pieces. So to me, I think Maris Mims is a nice establishing your O-line as one of the best in the league.
I like that. I like that a lot. For the Bengals, I'm gonna take him higher than I think a lot of people have him. Give me Johnny Newton, man. Throw him in there at 18 to the Bengals. You can't put a value on interior pass rush. You can't. And I don't know that the uh the Bengals have a ton of that. They got some nice edge pieces there. Of course, they got some other pieces on defense that I believe that they like. But like how important would that be, that defense, if they were able to generate a ton of pressure on the interior with Johnny Newton in that pass game? Like, I think it's invaluable. It is
Mhm.
invaluable. And you're in a division where it's going to be competitive. It might come down to like a couple third down plays, getting the Lamar Jackson uncomfortable, get him, you want to keep him inside the pocket for the most part, but put that pressure up in the interior, get in his face. And same thing with Justin Fields. Justin Fields did not do well with interior pressure at all. So because who does? Who does? I
Especially,
love Johnny Newton as a prospect. I think he should go higher than this, but I don't think it's hard for me to see him outside of the top 20 because I think he's a top 20 player.
yeah. And also, what's so frustrating for running quarterbacks is if you can't step up in the pocket, and you can't step up in the pocket if you've got guys who are really bringing that interior pressure, like you mentioned, another way to contain Lamar and Fields. Yeah, I love that for the Bengals there. I'm sure they'd be pretty darn happy keeping them in Big Ten country. Moving out west to the Rams at 19, and you've got a couple players options on this board. I'm thinking secondary with the way that the board fell, and the guys left here. I don't know if I want Brian Thomas Jr. I don't think you have a need at a wide receiver necessarily. I'm thinking secondary. You got Cooper DeJean's on the board, Terry Arnold's on the board, Nate Wiggins and Khalid McKinstry, Tyler Newbert if you want at safety, which I don't think you really need. I'm gonna go at cornerback because yes, you bring in two guys in free agency. Darius Williams will be there for a couple years. Tre'Davious White's a 1 year deal, I believe, and it's kind of a prove it deal. He can never stay really healthy. And I think as insurance to that, and also insurance to this pick, is you're gonna go Nate Wiggins. And he's got some medical issues staying
Ooh,
healthy, but he is unbelievable when he's healthy. He has the frame, the tenacity, the speed, and the makeup, right? With the arm length and everything you want, hip mobility, hip flexibility, and quickness to be a lockdown corner for you. And yeah, I think in a division where you have the Seahawks, you have Arizona just drafted, right? In our case, they drafted Malik Neighbors. And obviously, San Francisco has all those playmakers there. Nate Wiggins will be a real nice piece to just lock down one side of the field when he's healthy.
yeah, I love that. I love that. And it's hard to go wrong with the Rams here. Like there are a lot of needs for that Rams team. There are. For the Steelers at 20, I mean, if you're sitting here and all of a sudden you're like, "Oh, wait, is that a faster George Pickens?" Oh yeah, let me just draft a George Pickens that runs a 4.340. Give me Brian Thomas Jr. to the Steelers, and they're like, "How did this fall in our lap?" They were probably planning on taking a tackle, but then they're like, "All the tackles that we liked are gone. We couldn't trade up for one. Just give us Brian Thomas Jr. if he's gonna fall in our lap like that."
Yeah, no, I think that's money for you. I mentioned Brian Thomas Jr. because I didn't think he was getting past you at 20, so I thought the Rams was my last chance to take a
Really,
guy like him. And yeah, I figured I kind
I
of saw
I
you.
just don't think. I mean, the Steelers they could go into the season with George Pickens, Van Jefferson, and Quez Watkins, but if Brian Thomas is like, I think Brian Thomas is good enough to be a top 15 pick, and
Oh,
you're sitting there at 20 and you're like, wow, I guess that's just the way that the board is falling.
yeah,
So,
no,
and yeah,
that's perfect there. The Seahawks are an interesting team too, where they've got some nice pieces, and then they also have a couple other spots where you're like, I don't know what to do here. You got some young guys, but do you really trust them? I mean, in the secondary, Tariq Woolen's a nice player,
What's
obviously.
crazy is so we traded back from 16. I think every player that you would have taken for the Seahawks
Still
is
on the board.
still on the board.
I mean, obviously, like, yeah, you could have thought about Mims, you could have thought about Newton, but you don't really need
You don't need
those
tackle as much as you
guys.
need interior,
No, yeah, exactly. So that's why I think you trade down here and you go Jackson Powers Johnson to 21. Um, I believe last year he fell all the way to 26. Last mock draft, he fell to 26 for us. The Seahawks get him here at 21, and you can have him do kind of whatever you want. If you want him at center, great. If you want him at guard, even better. Whatever you like for him, but he's got the flexibility and athleticism to play both all three interior positions at a high level early on in his career.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, I like that. I think you also could have taken JC Latham and put him at guard. I think you could have put
Yep.
Graham Barton at guard. Uh, a
And
lot of
the
stuff
reason I
right
think
there.
Powers, Jackson Powers Johnson is just because he has that center upside that, and we talked about it in our previous videos. Like, I like center. If you can snap the football efficiently and do it well, that's pretty valuable, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. And now for the Eagles at 22, I'm gonna stick and pick a guy that legitimately probably has a chance of going top 10. Like that's not an exaggeration. Not saying that he will. I don't think he will go top 10, but Terry Arnold has a chance of at going really, really high. And if you're in the Eagles and you need DB, especially at the performance last year and the injury problems you had there, getting Terry and Arnold at 22 is absolutely a steal. And we talk about there's so many steals down the board because this first round class is so talented from top to bottom.
Yep.
It's so good. So it's like you're probably watching this, folks, and you're like, how did so and so slip to the I don't know.
It just
And
happens.
then
All of a sudden it
it
happens.
I don't know. I don't know. Which is why it's weird picking in the top 10 this year. Like it's really, really talented class, of course, but it feels like you're just as set up if you're picking in the teens, in the early 20s.
Yeah. No, no, absolutely. I think you have it nailed there. For 23 with the Cardinals, don't forget that they traded down a couple times and they are not traded down, traded back up, and they took Malik Neighbors with the eighth pick. This is Cleveland's pick that they got from Houston, right? I believe. Yeah, I think
Yes.
so.
But no,
Or
no,
Cardinals.
Cleveland's pick that they got from Houston, that the Vikings got from Houston.
Thank you. Which you took from, thank you. Yes, my
Yeah,
bad. Yes.
this pick has gone everywhere.
Yes, it's kind of, yeah, exactly. So you can do a couple things here. Obviously, you got the wide receiver position you feel pretty good about. Nobody on the board right now you want to take at 23, maybe 80 Mitchell, but I don't think you have to. JC Latham would be interesting at guard, but I think he's super, super tall at guard. And I hate to do this to Kyler Murray, but it would be an interesting fit there to see how he plays in the interior. McKinstry is a guy you could think about, although you just got signed Sean Murphy Buntley, and I think it's a little bit too early for Kool-Aid McKinstry. I'm just gonna go, best player available here, and let's just take, yeah, let's just take Cooper DeJean and just figure out where to put him. You could put him in the slot, you could put him in safety, you could put him at corner. I mean, he had an unbelievable pro day after rehabbing from injury pretty darn quickly ago, and it didn't really have a chance to really train for it, and he just absolutely showed out. Shows you the athleticism that he has, and just he's unbelievable. He is so so good, and I think yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see him go higher, but I think 23, the Cardinals is a nice fit.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. I'm gonna go down the board here a little bit with the Cowboys picking at 24, and I am gonna pick here. Um, could be a trade up spot for there are some receiver needy teams down the board. Could definitely be a trade up spot. But I'm gonna do something that we haven't done at all. And I do want to consider the possibility that a not so premium position goes here.
Trey Benson
I'm actually gonna go different. I'm gonna go Jonathan Brooks, even with the medical stuff,
off an
even
ACL.
off an ACL.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I know. It's just absolutely crazy. But here's the thing.
That's Jerry Jones type shit, by the
That's
way.
that it. That's what I'm saying. Like, and you're watching this video and you're like, absolutely bonkers. What is this guy doing? And then you're also talking about like it was crazy that Mozzie Smith won the first round last year, right? And that was like or Matthew Bergeron and Mozzie Smith were the two players that he was picking between in that first round there, believe it or not. So whatever you think Jerry Jones' draft board is, it is not that.
It's not that.
And look, Rico Dowdle is okay running back. Deuce Vaughn's not an every down back. Like you're gonna need to find a running back at some point in this draft, right? Where's it gonna be? If they like Jonathan Brooks enough, which by the way, his film is ridiculous. Jerry Jones likes his in-state guys. I believe he's met with Jonathan Brooks. I would probably be more comfortable personally taking Trey Benson, but I'm trying to get into Jerry Jones's brain, which is impossible. And I'm gonna go with Jonathan Brooks here.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy, but
That's nuts.
I,
Yeah, I
it's
know it's
also
nuts.
Jared Jones. You never know. It's also a mock draft. We're having fun with it, and it's pretty fun for Texas fans to see Jonathan Brooks go in round one here. It brings us to the Packers. They've had an interesting offseason. You get signed Xavier McKinney, you sign Josh Jacobs, right? You kind of make a splash with both of those signees, and you've got a nice roster here. Jordan Love, I hate to say, it's a pretty darn good quarterback. And your wide receivers you've been taking in the past couple of years in the later rounds are looking pretty darn good. And Kenny Clark's obviously a stud. He's still there. Devonta Wyatt's getting better. Rashawn Gary, you know how we feel about him here. Quay Walker is what he is, but he's a pretty athletic guy. Lucas Van Ness is waiting in the rings. You have obviously Jair and Eric Stokes. It's a pretty darn good roster here. To me, I'm just going to take Graham Barton at left tackle
Mm.
for Duke. You got to replace Bakhtiari somehow. I think you can switch. Elton Jenkins has played there before, but I think I like Elton Jenkins on the inside. I think you let Barton and Jenkins fight it out for the left tackle, and whoever doesn't win that job plays left guard. And I think you kind of go from it there. And yeah, I think Brian Gutekunst takes guys of not so highlighty positions in early rounds. And yeah, I think this makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I like that a lot. Um, this is an interesting spot here because the Bucks, there's a lot of needs. You know, they could trade back and probably still get a guy that they probably would have taken. But man, what do they want here? That's the thing. The way the ball's falling, the board has fallen. Like it's not crazy for someone to trade up for AD Mitchell right here, but I'm gonna hold off on that, and I'm gonna probably stick and pick here Jared Verse. I mean, he's fallen all the way to
Damn.
26, and they need edge. I know they drafted Logan Hall, but got KJ Britt there. I know they like Kalijah Cant or sorry, not KJ, Kalijah Cansey. Um, I mean, I guess they like their interior, kind of. I don't know. There's just a lot of holes, and I think Jared Verse is a good enough player. Like he's very pro ready, you know.
Yeah,
Like he'll have an immediate impact in some capacities. So he's just a good player, good motor, good size, good skills.
that
Could
makes a ton
probably
of
go higher.
sense.
Could probably go higher than 26.
Yeah, no, definitely. I love that for the Bucks there. I'm sure they're pretty happy about that. At 27, that was who I was going to take. Was going to be Jared Verse. And you just took, if you're the Cardinals, you don't remember it, you just took, right, Cooper DeJean at 23. You took Malik Neighbors at 8. I'm going to go again. Let's double dip in wide receiver because I don't know if I love anybody else on the board that I have to have on your roster. And I'm going to go get AD Mitchell at 27 here.
What
Him
a
and Malik
draft, by the way,
Neighbors.
that we have projected for the Cardinals here.
I mean, I think it would be a really, really fun pairing, those two guys up. You saw what, Malik Neighbors did alongside a guy like Brian Thomas Jr. A.D. Mitchell's played with a guy like Xavier Worthy. I think those guys could complement each other really, really nicely and be an elite duo for you down there in Arizona.
Yeah, that would be nuts, man. That would be nuts. You get that would be a that would be nuts. You flip D Hop and Hollywood Brown for AD Mitchell and Malik Neighbors, and all of a sudden you you have an absolute squad that is insanely
Mm-hmm.
young. And you just have Cooper DeJean back there to boot, where you could put anywhere.
And punt
Literally,
returns, kick returns, do whatever you want with him.
yeah, literally do whatever. Put him in running back, wide receiver. No, obviously not, but like he could. He could. So I think the pick is pretty obvious here then for Buffalo in terms of the position that you go for. I think they will be drafting a wide receiver here, right? The biggest question though is like which one? Like it definitely would have been AD Mitchell, I think, if
You
he
would
was
have
still on the
loved AD
board.
Mitchell there. Yep.
You would have loved AD Mitchell there. There's a lot of good ones out here. Yeah, I'm gonna get your guy here, Lad McConkey, over
Yep.
here at 28 to
Yes.
the Bills.
Yes.
He's good, man. Like he's very good at football, man. He is so good.
Yeah. To me here, I love that for the Bills. You're gonna be upset about losing the upside of AD Mitchell, but you know McConkey is gonna step in right away and
That's what
be
you
Josh
need. You
Allen's
you
best
need
friend.
someone right now that is a good, smart football player that Josh Allen can rely on.
Yeah, him and Kincaid would be super. I mean, we saw McConkey and Brock Bowers. I mean, McConkey and Kincaid would be very, very exciting for him. In last mock draft, oh, we took Cooper DeJean. Okay, very good. I don't want to double dip here. Lines. I'm gonna go Kool-Aid McKinstry. I think corner. Yeah, I know we're doing corner again here, but DeJean is off the board after a nice pro day. Kool-Aid McKinstry here fits, I think, exactly what Dan Campbell and the Lions are building. Position of need. He's a guy that's been a gamer since he was 18 years old at Alabama. Makes a ton of sense where you don't have a ton of holes on this roster, and McKinstry is about as technically sound as there is in this class. And yeah, you pair him in that secondary, and I love it. I love it.
I love that too. And I know the Ravens have been tied to Jordan Morgan a lot, but if JC Latham is here on the board, I don't necessarily know that JC Latham is like the best lineman out there, and like if I was drafting, I might actually take Jordan Morgan over JC Latham, but because from a pure power standpoint and what Todd Monken might be wanting to run over there, and now you have Derrick Henry, like moving the line of scrimmage is going to be a big deal. Now, does he have an issue finishing runs, finishing blocks in the run game? Yes. Okay. But he will not get moved. He will absolutely anchor, whether you're playing him at guard or whether you're playing him at tackle. I think JC Latham would be the pick right here for the Ravens if he was on the board. I know they really like Jordan Morgan, but I'm gonna give him JC Latham.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, they love their big, huge tackles and that they can just develop and turn them into absolute monsters, a la Ronnie Stanley. Yeah, JC Latham. If you're JC Latham, you've probably circled a couple teams that you want to go to. The Ravens are one of them, right? And I think that'd be a nice fit for both teams there, especially the value there to get him at 30. And if he's not a great tackle, you kick him in a guard. And he's a pretty darn good guard there for you, which he's played at Hamel before. At 31, the 49ers. There's again a pretty good roster, but there's some holes in it. I mean, you can't pay everybody. You lose Chase Young, yada yada yada. Who cares? Trent Williams is getting old, so you've got some pieces on the O line that you probably have to start replacing. Do I go Jordan Morgan here? I think
You,
about it. Do I go
you could
Tyler Guyton?
get a very nice developmental guy, Tyler Guyton, maybe. But
That's what I think the play is here, and I've done it before with them. I believe I took Kingsley Suamatea in our first mock draft, just because I think he's just super raw and just has traits that you just can't teach. And I think the who better to learn for than Trent Williams? And for the same reasons, I'm going to go Tyler Guyton here, a guy that's struggled at times for sure, but also when he puts it all together, he is an elite tackle on certain plays, and you see it, the power, the the quickness, the hand jab, all that good stuff. And I think they can coach him up, and especially where you can go and sit for a year, two, or whatever you got to do, and become a really, really good tackle post Trent Williams.
yeah, I like that a lot. The Chiefs here at 32. So the pick is wide receiver, right? I mean, it is. Here's the thing though. We've mocked Xavier Worthy there, I think multiple times. The thing is, what was the main thing that their receiving core struggled with last year?
Hands catching.
Yeah, it was drops. Xavier Worthy might not be your guy. Like it's possible that you fall in love with the speed, but there were drop issues that presented themselves at times. If you want a guy that's got electric hands, is a very, very, very good underrated receiver that I don't know that'll necessarily slip in the first round, but I think he would be an unbelievable fit in that Chiefs offense and exactly what they need there. I'm gonna go with Ricky Pearsall at 32 to the Chiefs. Yeah, you probably didn't expect that.
Wow.
You probably didn't expect that. You probably expect me to say Keon Coleman because you guys know I love Keon Coleman. But I'm gonna go with Ricky Pearsall there. I think Ricky Pearsall, if he does not go in the first round, he's gonna go early second round, right? He's that good of a player. I really, really, really do believe that. I think it's a stretch to say that he'll go in the first round, but I'm gonna take him here in this mock draft because I think he would be really good on the Chiefs.
Yeah, no, I think that's pretty exciting there. Pearsall's a guy, he's really, really good. His floor tape is awesome. He's again in a deep wide receiver class, he's being overshadowed by some freaks at the top of the first round, and you can get him at
Yeah, it is an
32.
unprecedented level of talent at the receiver position. Like Ricky Pearsall is probably a first round receiver in a lot of years.
Yeah, you got six other guys ahead of him, and it's crazy. The wide receiver seven in this class is good enough to go in the first round. And again, with seven wide receivers off the board, I don't know if the Carolina Panthers want to take a guy like that. I underratedly like their room. I like Deontay Johnson a lot. I think he fits Bryce Young so well. Adam Thielen's there, still reliable. Terrence Marshall as a fourth guy. Jonathan Mingo developing whatever you got there. I'm gonna go Jordan Morgan. I mean, you don't have a first round pick, so this is the top of the
Whoa.
third, top of the first, and I just love Jordan Morgan's game. And to be honest, I know you put a lot into Ike Ekwonu. I don't know if he's the guy. I really don't. And not that you're drafting to replace him, but Taylor Morton's getting very, very old and expensive. And you're gonna have one of those tackle spots open in the next couple of years. You got to get your O line right for Bryce Young. And think about Kingsley Suamatea. You can think about him, but I mean Jordan Morgan is very, very sound and is going to be a very good pro in my opinion, especially early on. Can help Bryce Young.
I believe that first pick, it's got to be off something on offense, right? You have to figure out how to help him. You have to. It
And
was
I
not
don't
enough last year.
know, and I don't think you can take. I think you have to get it right. You have to get this pick right. You have one pick in the first however many, right? I think your next pick is in the third round. So I'm sorry, you have 39. You just traded Brian Burns. Okay, you can get a little more risky with that pick. I think this pick you have to hit with Jordan Morgan. So yeah.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Thank you, everyone, for checking out our mock draft version 3. Yeah. Did we have Jonathan Brooks in the first round? Yeah. Was it a little bit crazy? Yeah. But sometimes that's just what draft day is, man. That's why I love it. That's why I love it. Um, so I mean, look, when we do this again, I probably will not have Jonathan Brooks in the first round. I think that'd be the only team that I would put Jonathan Brooks on, right? But in general, I actually like this draft that we did. And I always say, like, I'm gonna go back and while I'm editing this, I'm gonna be like, why did I do that? But that's just what this year looks like. It is so unbelievably deep, like 1 through 50, 1 through 45. That's what it
Yeah,
really
I will
feels like.
say I feel really good about the guys we got in here. I feel like we got all of like your true first round grades, maybe minus Tyler Nubin, maybe minus Peyton Wilson. But like in terms of your true first round grades, I think we got all of them in, which credit to us.
Credit to us. Absolutely. I mean, make sure you guys like the content, like the video, subscribe, comment, let us know. What are you picking? What are you hearing? We love to hear all that kind of stuff. Debate us in the comments. Do it. Do it. But yeah, we love having you guys. We love doing this. It is the best thing that I do. It's my favorite thing to do. Even when I'm sitting there editing these videos for hours, I love it. I love every second of it. So thank you guys so much for letting us do this and giving us that sense of dopamine every time you click on the video. And if you stayed this long, credit to you on Spotify and YouTube. You guys are legends. CD, anything for us on the way out?
No, no, appreciate you guys. Hope you enjoyed our coverage of the draft. Come here for the draft. Stick around for college football content, and we're gonna have a great summer.
It's gonna be awesome. And we'll see y'all in the next one.